Great to see everyone again. So we're going to start with a few questions that I have, but as always, I would love to have some questions from the audience. So please think about your what you would like to ask our guests here. You know, I think everybody knows the companies that you're from, but you're doing such innovative and interesting work, each of you, and so different from each other. I'd love to start by just asking you for kind of the 30-second elevator pitch to explain the idea behind your companies. Pinky, could I start with you?
Yes.
You've built an empire, Slutty Vegan, based on making delicious vegan food accessible. It's a movement as much as a chain, as Brent found out on his way in, because he was hearing about it from all the cab drivers. And I wonder if you could tell us about the idea that started it for you.
Great question. First of all, everybody, hello. I got married in this room last year. So this is my first time back here, okay? So it feels good, and I'm still married. God is good.
Her husband's backstage.
So I started this concept in 2018. And at the time, I had my dream job. I was a casting director and a former producer for The Maury Show for 3 years, wild. But I did a lot of production work. And in my 2-bedroom apartment in 2018 is when I came up with this wild, crazy idea that was so good that I didn't want to share it with the world. And it was creating a concept that would merge sex and food. And I'm like, oh, damn, this is a good idea. And from that moment, not even knowing what I was doing, I came up with Slutty Vegan. And in 6 years, we've graced the covers of almost every magazine. Mm-hmm. I have 12 plus locations. We've had great partnerships. We've built a concept that was just bigger than burgers and fries, but something that rallies the community together. And I'm proud of the work that I get to do every single day. And it gets ghetto sometimes. But the beautiful part of entrepreneurship is we get to do it and inspire people every day. So that's Slutty Vegan.
Love that. I'm going to go to Brent. The Meat Hook, which is a butcher shop in Brooklyn and in the Hudson Valley, champions ethical and sustainable meat production. Can you elaborate on your approach to butchering whole animals rather than buying parts, and how that contributes to a more sustainable meat industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So Meat Hook is now 15 years old, and we are a whole animal butcher shop, which means that we buy whole animals from local farms, butcher them on site, and sell them to customers. It's a retail business, and it's as simple as that, with the simplicity being, you know, the foundation of the business. We want to know our farmer, we want to know our customer, and we want there to be transparency along the way. Utilization is the foundation of our business. So we work with regenerative farms, so the product is very expensive. It's very sustainable, very ethical, but we got to use all of it. It's very expensive. So, you know, from an entire cow, maybe only 20% of that cow is actual steaks. 50% of it is bones. The other 25%, 25 to 30% is ground beef. So with that, okay, what do? You make cheeseburgers. So therefore, I started a restaurant. Pork, same thing. Our specialty is sausages. So what is like the through line with all of us? We make a whole variety of sausages. If you have an idea, like, we've probably made it into a sausage. We make a banh mi sausage, we make a Philly cheesesteak sausage, we make a beet and onion sausage. And like, all of these things are to infuse different flavors, you know, into the products that we have so that we can sell all of it, because we don't make any money unless we sell the entire animal. The mission of our company is rebuilding agriculture one cheeseburger at a time.
And Brice, Choppy offers hybrid protein options. Could you explain that? And then also tell us a little bit about what problem that solves for people who are looking to eat more plant-based foods in their diet.
Yeah, so we're making products that are like 90% plant proteins, 10% beef fat, bone broth, and collagen, and in particular focusing on kind of the processed meats category. And what you get there is you get a product that tastes like it should, is high in protein, most importantly pre-seasoned, and you just have to throw it in a pan to heat it up. And so with that, you're then no longer focusing on appealing to a consumer on sustainability reasons, but you're then able to Trojan horse sustainability by appealing to consumers for actual consumer problems, things like, I've got hangry kids at home, I want to make a quick quesadilla, I've got a carne asada I can throw into it. And so trying to, again, Trojan horse the sustainability problem of food.
Right. So it might look like we're about to have like a brawl on stage between all these different ways of eating, but there's actually so much in common between your three businesses. High quality, healthy, ethically sourced food comes at a premium. At the same time, customers are experiencing sticker shock in this high inflation era. What are your thoughts on balancing sustainability and affordability for your consumers while also trying to run profitable businesses?
I can go first.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Can I be honest?
Absolutely.
Okay, because that's the only thing I
Wouldn't
can
have
do.
it any other way.
Right. The plant-based world is at a consistent decline. Just holistically, if you pay attention to the tickers, right?
Yeah.
The plant-based companies, it's just not in a good space right now. And I don't know if it's specifically because the trend ain't trending like how it used to be, right? Or if, you know, the beef companies are like putting out messaging, like who knows, right? But the reality of it is as an entrepreneur in the plant-based space, obviously it's affected us. The reason why I say that is because just quite naturally, plant-based foods are more expensive. So at the height of the business, where, you know, pre and pro, right after COVID, we got lines down the block every single day. People are willing to pay $18 for a burger. But then when you have all of these plant-based companies and non-plant-based companies, now everybody got a burger. And you go to Target and you look on the shelf and there's 10 companies that's selling the same thing. There's so much saturation in the market. Yeah. So now people aren't willing to pay $18 for a burger like they used to because they can get the same thing $3 over here, or if they can go to Burger King, they can get it for $4.
Right.
So there's been a challenge in trying to navigate through those things. And what I've been focusing more on, which I've always done, but I'm putting more of an effort on the experience because people pay for good experiences. And if you can get people to pay for good experiences, it don't matter what the food costs. What we're going to promise you is we're going to give you a quality product. You're going to be happy when you leave, and you'll get the ultimate experience that'll make you want to come back. Yeah.
Love that. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I? Just to piggyback on that, I feel like everybody kind of wants to know your butcher, and that is why we've started more retail locations, because so much of what we do is built on trust. So we can tell the stories of the farms, and we can look you in the eye. Whether you had a really good experience and you had, like, you know, amazing short ribs, okay, those were fantastic. Or if your steak sucked, like, there might be a reason for that. Like, did it hang long enough? Was there another issue in the animal itself? Like, we're here for that. So the hospitality experience is very, very important to us. But to answer your question, like, I don't think the prices are going down. Like, the beef industry, you know, the big three packers learned that they can control the way that we eat meat in this country through COVID. And it was maniacal and, like, really freaking messed up. And so those prices aren't going down. And beef commodities in general, like, you can't, grass-fed and commodity beef are at, like, calves are the same price, finishing same price. Okay, so, like, why would you necessarily go grass-fed? Well, because it's better for the environment, it tastes better, and, you know, it's better for the earth. Okay, those are great reasons to do it, but, like, the New York Times did a great little article last week about the environmental costs of lots of foods, but most specifically beef, because and it's a really easy, cool little infographic, please check it out.
That's very good.
That the hidden environmental costs, the cheapest beef in Walmart across the United States right now is $5.38. You can't buy anything cheaper than that. The environmental cost is an extra $22. So that actually should be, you know, whatever. I'm not going to be able to do math on stage, even if it was 2 + 2. I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
That's maniacal.
$27 for ground beef. Like, the meat hook, like, ground beef is a loss leader for us. Like, I keep the price low because I want to have something that everybody can afford. Sausage is the same way. Steaks aren't going anywhere. Very easy to sell. We keep selling them. But, like, the hospitality aspect of making sure that people are met where they are at and understand the costs behind it and where their money is going is super important to me.
And then my thoughts there are that the alternative meat industry has made a lot of, I think, perhaps missteps in this realm in trying to sell products at a premium under the guise of being more sustainable, which, when you have a worse tasting product that's nebulously healthier, is a really hard pitch. And so we see there's white space then in that, or we think think we need a strategy shift and see a lot of white space again in processed meats. Ground beef, heavily subsidized, hard to get to cost on. Processed meats, there's an upcharge for them because they're more convenient for the end user. So it's easier for us to get to parity, and then also we are solving problems for the consumer and saying, hey, it's convenient, it's healthy, and with that you can have a bit more flexibility in terms of price as opposed to, again, ground beef, which is more ubiquitous.
Great. You know, the people often say you are what we eat. You are what you eat, right? Increasingly, food and the food choices that we make aren't just consumer choices. They're becoming kind of central parts of our identity, parts of the tribes that we belong to, whether you're a vegan or a carnivore or a flexitarian. How do you think about and speak to those identities in your customers? Or you may dispute the premise of my question also.
I'll dispute it.
Okay, excellent.
I like these guys. We have so many customers that come in that were, vegan or vegetarian and say my doctor needs, said that I need iron in my diet. I need to introduce something, and they're like sheepish to come in. We're like, we're here for it. Come talk to us. Like all of these solutions need to exist in our food system. I am definitely not a 100% carnivore diet. Like, that's crazy. No one's cavemen didn't eat like that. All right, we've always had vegetables in our diet. So how can we promote better farming practices to raise cleaner food, not monocrop it, but, create more biodiversity and better farming practices to raise more high quality food for all of the things that we support.
Yeah, I would agree that very much. There aren't really these tribes. You hear a lot of Liver King or Joe Rogan on one side of the spectrum, but in practice, people, they just want things that taste good, meet the right nutritional profile, and are sufficiently convenient. And if you can meet that, it's great. I was doing a demo at a grocery store in Omaha and sold a bunch of product to a guy wearing a backwards MAGA AF hat who, ostensibly wouldn't be excited about this, but was with his family, liked our teriyaki steak because it was easy for his family. And so I think where you can provide the value, provide that experience, you can cross party lines.
It's interesting. I did a McKinsey brand equity study. Are y'all familiar with that? Okay. I did a McKinsey brand equity study, and what they said is 70% of the people who come to Slutty Vegan are not vegan. Right? And I knew that just with my simple math.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about why Slutty Vegan has been able to sustain so long is because I'm not attracting the vegan. Right? I don't care if you eat vegan. I don't care if you are a meat eater. If you like to eat pork, this is your prerogative. I married somebody who got a chain of meat restaurants,
I love
right?
that.
I know, it makes no sense. It would be a great TV show, by the way. But the reality of it is it's almost like we've been to the hospital before, right? Before you go into the back, before they admit you, you go into the triage, right? So Slutty Vegan is like the triage. So you come as you are, and however you come, we will meet you where you are. And I think that is a part of the reason that has allowed us to just really navigate as a brand, because our audience is not, we want the person that's just eating salad all day. That's not the person. We want the person who's eating vegan for the first time and wants to see what the hype is all about. And then when they taste Slutty Vegan, okay, I could do this. Right? Mm-hmm. And then tomorrow they can go to his restaurant, and then they can go to the grocery store and buy some teriyaki from him. And that is the person that is going to keep the business to continue to grow, and I like to keep it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. In our last couple minutes, what do you see as the biggest challenges ahead for sustainable food, and also what makes you feel optimistic?
I'd say one of the biggest challenges for us has been funding. We tried our hand at a CPG brand a couple years ago, and it was actually a very disheartening experience because everybody loved the product. We make all of these interesting sausages, green chorizo, cool, my kids will eat this, bright green. But the only funding available for these products was venture capital funding, and everybody wanted to know, our pathway to 5 million in 5 years. Mm-hmm. It was like, that's the exact opposite of the type of agriculture that we're supporting here. So everybody loves the idea, but the finances just don't work. Banks just don't want to take a big risk on that. And it's slow money, and there's some slow money angel investors out there, but when you need $1 million and someone's willing to lend you 10,000, it's not particularly helpful.
Right.
Which is, why I just wanted to start more retail locations so that people know the brand, trust the brand, know the butcher, and hopefully we can see it grow from there.
I think very much agreed on the funding side, and then that ties in, I think one of the biggest challenges right now is consumer trust. There has been a lot of venture capital or fill-in-the-blank dollars thrown at various companies across the alternative meat landscape, many of whom have not met consumer expectations, and it's hard to convince people to come back and try something that might be notably better when they've already had a slightly soured experience. And so overcoming that is a challenge. I think things I'm optimistic about are a lot of these kind of more regenerative approaches. There are now many more brands taking that strategy. And then also, there are a lot of somewhat more upstream companies doing things like algae-based feed to give to cows to reduce emissions. And so I think there are a lot of compelling solutions across the value chain there.
I think the storyline here is that we all need money.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
We're seeing some commonality.
It's very much so. I think that access to resources and financial resources especially is a lot different today than it was in 2020 and 21. Would y'all agree?
Yeah.
Right? People are clutching their money more than they did before. Back in 2021, everybody was throwing out cash, throwing out valuations. It was great. Like, it was a party. But now people are unsure because the economy, there's so much instability that's happening. So for me in my industry, here I am. I asked ChatGPT, by the way. I said, who's the most notable vegan restaurant? And they said Slutty Vegan. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm cool. Right? But I see all of my peers closing their doors.
Yeah.
Every week there's a different vegan restaurant closing. So it's a blessing and a curse. The blessing is like, okay, I get to monopolize, but the curse is that, like, am I next?
Right.
And it's a hard reality that you have to ask yourself, but it's because people, especially private equity firms and investors, I don't honestly believe that they believe in the plant-based movement like they did before because there's not many comps. Like, I am the only comp left, right? So I'm creating a blueprint by also trying to make people feel comfortable, and it's difficult, but it's worth every step of the way, and I wouldn't stop it for anything in the world.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to end on that note. Thank you so much to our esteemed panelists and to our audience for engaging.